Alberta Odell Jones, an icon, a trailblazer, and in August 1965, a high-profile murder victim.
Every crime tells a story, and behind every story is a name, a face, and a life interrupted. Today, we'll shine light on the unsolved case of Alberta Odell Jones. Located in the northern part of Kentucky along the Ohio River, Louisville is the state's largest city. Known around the world as the birthplace of boxing legend Muhammad Ali and the home of the iconic Kentucky Derby, Louisville offers a blend of rich culture, beautiful architecture, and a wealth of historic landmarks. From the Louisville Water Tower, recognized as the oldest ornamental water tower in the world, to the Big Four Bridge, a former railroad crossing that has now transformed into a pedestrian and bicycle path, connecting Louisville to Jeffersonville, Indiana. The city blends history with modern life. It also serves as the headquarters for major corporations like Humana, KFC, and GE, cementing its place as a hub of commerce, tradition, and Southern identity. Born on November 12, 1930, in Louisville, Kentucky, Alberta Odell Jones was the third of four children, born to Odell Jones and Sarah Frances Crawford Jones. The Jones family lived in Louisville's West End, a predominantly black community. From an early age, Alberta was known as a mother's girl, deeply connected to her mother and also sharing a close bond with her younger sister, Flora. With more than 5 years between them, Flora often described Alberta as not just a sister, but a best friend, and in many ways, a second mother. Alberta's potential was evident from a young age. She graduated from Louisville Central High School in 1948 and continued her education at Louisville Municipal College for Negroes. In 1951, following the integration of higher education, Alberta became one of the first black students to enroll at the University of Louisville. In 1953, she graduated with a bachelor's degree in accounting, ranking third in her class. Following college, Alberta took a job as an accountant at a local Louisville insurance firm. Driven by ambition and several years of saving, she enrolled in law school. In 1956, Alberta was accepted into the University of Louisville Law School. After completing her first year, she earned a scholarship and transferred to Howard University in Washington, D.C., where she continued her legal studies and graduated fourth in her class in 1958. After graduating, Alberta returned to her hometown of Louisville. In 1959, she passed the Kentucky bar exam, making history as the first black woman to become an attorney in the state of Kentucky. That same year, Alberta opened a law office in downtown Louisville. She shared the space with another young black attorney, Darrell Owens, who would later remember her as warm, outgoing, and always determined. Together, they provided legal services to black residents, many of whom had long been denied equal access to representation. In 1960, barely a year into her career, Alberta began representing one of Louisville's most promising young athletes, 18-year-old Cassius Clay, who would later be known to the world as Muhammad Ali. Alberta helped negotiate his first professional fight contract, inserting a clause that set aside a percentage of his earnings in a trust that he could not access until he was 35 years old. This was designed to guard him against financial missteps, a common pitfall for young athletes. This original contract still hangs on display at the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville today. Alberta would also introduce Cassius to trainer and boxing champion Archie Moore. Moore would coach Cassius for a time before the two eventually met in the ring as opponents. Alberta's legacy wasn't limited to groundbreaking legal work. She was also a dedicated civil rights activist. She actively participated in the civil rights movement, joining numerous protest marches throughout the Louisville area. Alberta was also deeply involved with the Louisville chapter of the Urban League, an organization committed to helping Black Americans secure employment and housing. She was also an active member of the NAACP, fighting for equality and justice on every front. On August 28, 1963, Alberta was among the estimated 300,000 participants who attended the historic March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech. Inspired and re-energized after returning from Washington, Alberta became even more determined to make lasting changes. She refused to be discouraged by the discrimination and injustice that surrounded her, instead using her legal skills as a weapon in the fight for civil rights. Alberta founded the Independent Voters Association of Louisville, a grassroots organization aimed at empowering Black voters. She rented voting machines and taught community members how to use them, helping register over 6,000 Black voters in the area. Through her legal work, voter registration efforts, and fearless activism, Alberta broke down barriers that had long held her community back. In late February 1965, Alberta made history again. She was appointed prosecutor for Louisville Domestic Relations Court, becoming the first woman to ever hold that position in Jefferson County, and the first Black female prosecutor in the state of Kentucky. During an interview with Louisville Courier-Journal, Alberta was asked about the challenges she faced breaking barriers in law and civil rights. She recalled what many told her: "You got 2 strikes against you. You're a woman and you're a Negro." Alberta responded with unwavering resilience. "Yeah, but I got 1 strike left, and I've seen people hit home runs with 1 strike." On August 4th, 1965, at around 6 p.m., Alberta picked up a 1965 Ford Fairlane rental car from Herman & Moore Leasing. She then returned home to the house she shared with her mother and sister at the 3200 block of Virginia Avenue. Later that evening, Alberta sat with her family, reading through a magazine and talking about the day. Between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., Alberta received a call from her friend Gladys, asking her to come over. Given how late it was, Alberta initially declined, saying there wasn't anything she can do at that hour, according to her mother. But after more going back and forth, her sister recalled Alberta being guilted into going.
Recalling the night of the murder, Shanklin remembers Alberta getting a phone call from a friend facing a lawsuit. But because it was about 10 p.m., Alberta told the friend there was nothing she could do at the time.
That she did not want her friends that were less educated than her to think that she was above them. So she said, since you got this position, you have gotten so uppity that you don't have any time for your friends. And Alberta said, okay, I'm coming.
Reluctantly, she threw on a house dress, slipped on black shoes, grabbed her purse, and left for Gladys' home at the 2100 block of West Broadway. There are 2 differing claims about why Gladys initially called Alberta, possibly because Gladys changed her story over time. According to one account, she needed Alberta's help with a lawsuit. Another suggests that Gladys, who owned a local beauty salon, had simply called Alberta to let her know that her wig order was ready for pickup. According to Gladys, Alberta arrived around 11:30 p.m. They chatted, Alberta tried on the wig, and then the two went out to get food. They stopped at 2 stores and picked up a copy of the Louisville Defender newspaper, which supposedly had covered Gladys's lawsuit complaint. They returned to Gladys' house around 1 a.m. Roughly 30 minutes later, around 1:30 a.m., Gladys claimed Alberta left her home. Between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., the Morgans, a husband and wife living in the 2900 block of West Magazine Street, approximately 5 minutes away from Gladys's home, were suddenly awakened by the sound of a woman screaming. When they looked outside, they saw a light-colored Ford parked across the street. At first, they assumed it was a domestic dispute. Mr. Morgan claimed he saw a man dragging a woman from the middle of the street and forcing her into the car. He also noticed another person already inside the car before it sped off. Due to the lack of lighting, the Morgans were unable to provide further identifying details before the vehicle quickly drove off. Later that morning, around 10:30 a.m., a group of young boys walking along the Ohio River behind the Fontaine Ferry Park made a grim discovery. The body of a woman floating face down in the water. She was fully clothed, but her shoes and purse were missing. The body was later identified as Alberta Jones. She was just 34 years old. The difficult task of making an official identification fell to her friend and colleague, Daryl Owens, who had shared an office with her.
The person asked to identify the body was also a young lawyer at the time and shared an office with Jones on West Broadway, current state representative Daryl Owens.
Worst experience in my life.
Concerned about her absence, Alberta's mother and sister had tried to call Gladys earlier that morning. At first, they were told she wasn't available. When they finally spoke to her, Gladys informed them that Alberta left her house in the early hours. Fearing the worst, at around 1:30 p.m., Alberta's family reported her missing, unaware that just hours earlier, her body had already been discovered. The investigation into Alberta Jones' unaliving revealed a violent and tragic end. Her body showed clear signs of a brutal assault. She sustained multiple facial lacerations, scrapes and abrasions along her arms and legs, and evidence of repeated blows to her head. Some witnesses claimed to have seen 3 unidentified men throwing a body from the Sherman-Minton Bridge. However, investigators dismissed this theory, stating that the Ohio River's current would have carried a body further downstream, away from where Alberta's remains were ultimately discovered. On the morning of August 5, 1965, at around 9:30 a.m., a recreation worker at the nearby Shawnee Golf Course discovered a pair of women's shoes. It was later confirmed that they belonged to Alberta. The following evening, on August 6, at approximately 7:30 p.m., Alberta's rental car was found parked near the 3100 block of Dale Park Terrace. Inside the vehicle was a disturbing scene that showed clear signs of struggle. A large amount of blood smeared and splattered throughout the vehicle, blood-stained brick fragments, and a torn, bloody piece of the Louisville Defender newspaper. They also recovered the upper half of Alberta's dentures, 2 knives, 1 broken, multiple strands of hair in different textures and lengths, palm prints, fingerprints, matches, and cigarette butts were amongst the items found. On August 9, 1965, the official autopsy concluded that Alberta passed away by drowning. Investigators suspected that she had been beaten unconscious and thrown into the river or forcibly held underwater. However, Deputy Coroner could not confirm whether the injuries were significant to render her unconscious, nor could he say with certainty whether she was unconscious when submerged or intentionally held underwater. Nearly 3 years later, in July 1968, a group of teenagers discovered Alberta's missing purse lodged in an opening beneath the lower deck of the Sherman-Minton Bridge. In the purse contained the lower half of her dentures, ID, credit card, a check, and an empty billfold. Investigators found that the purse was in relatively good condition and believed it was planted there and not left there the night she was unalived. Alberta's case has been reopened several times, first in the 1960s and then again in the late 1980s, and later between the years of 2008 and 2010, and then the years 2016 and 2018. During the original investigation, detectives reportedly interviewed over 400 individuals and collected numerous of fingerprints and palm prints. At one time, prosecutors sought indictments against 2 suspects, but a grand jury declined to press charges. When the case was reopened in 1989, detectives discovered that most of the physical evidence had either been lost or was no longer in the Louisville Metro Police Department's property room. With little remaining to be examined, no new leads emerged. In 2008, FBI matched a fingerprint found in Alberta's car to a man who had been 17 years old at the time of her unaliving and living in Louisville, though he had since relocated to California. He claimed he had previously rented the same vehicle, which could explain his fingerprints. Although he denied knowing Alberta or any involvement in her unaliving, he reportedly failed a polygraph test. However, because there were no further evidence to conclusively link him to the crime, prosecutors chose not to pursue the charges. In 2010, the Kentucky Commonwealth's Attorney Office declined further investigation, citing many key witnesses were deceased and the loss of nearly all physical evidence from 1965. In 2017, with funding from the Emmett Till Unsolved Civil Rights Crime Act, Alberta's case was reopened again. With most of the physical evidence gone, investigators focused on reviewing past reports, hoping to uncover something new and generate renewed public interest in hopes of finding fresh leads. In 2018, the FBI officially added Alberta's case back to the cold case list. As of 2021, according to the Louisville Police Homicide Department, her case still remains open and under active review. On October 9, 2017, Alberta Jones received an Hometown Hero banner that hangs at the side of the River City Bank building at the corner of 6th Street and Muhammad Ali Boulevard. On November 18, 2023, Louisville opened up the Alberta O. Jones Park in her honor. On March 10, 2025, Alberta's portrait was added to the Kentucky Women Remembered exhibit, located in the west wing of the Kentucky State Capitol. The impact on her life is undeniable, and it continues to shine in every woman who dares to lead, in every person of color who dares to stand, remembering it all starts with courage. Alberta once said, "I got one strike left, and I've seen people hit home runs with just one strike." And that's exactly what she did. She broke down every door that was meant to be shut, shattering racial and gender barriers at every step. Alberta's legacy is more than just history. It's the ultimate hit and run. One strike, one shot, and she changed the game forever.
Vengeance is mine, said the Lord, and there will be a judgment day, and I have to continue to believe that what I have been taught in Sunday school and church, that you pay for what you did, and that I may never know, but that the man up above knows.
No story is forgotten. No voice should go unheard. Sending my deepest condolences and prayers to the family and friends of Alberta Odell Jones. When the courts are quiet, God still speaks and sees all. Until the next time, thank you for watching Shades of Crime. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to pray. God's listening.